because we're in real estate, we have the opportunity to impact people positively, not just in the transactions, but through philanthropy. So find something you care about and then make that another motivator to keep you in the industry. It keeps you focused on something besides the dollars and cents. And when the days get tough, you're like, well, I'm doing this because I also want to be able to support this nonprofit, this activity, this organization. It's just another motivator beyond money that helps you wake up every day and do those consistent things that you know will work.
Welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and today we're talking about real estate and becoming a better agent in your real estate business. So getting better and better every single day, that's about what I'm all about. And so part of that to me is all about learning from others, reading books, going to seminars, and doing all the things that a good, curious agent should do as they are growing their business. So hopefully you get some insight out of this episode, just like you do all the others. And I've got more to share on kind of things I'm noticing in today's market, but also some of our guests. And today I got a guest with us from Johnson Creek, a guy named Jake Johnson. So there you go, Johnson Creek from Jake Johnson, and Southern Wisconsin area. And I got him on the show to share some of his wisdom over the last 5 years in the real estate business. And so 5 years is a big milestone, just so you know. If for anybody out there, you know, the number of agents that fall off before 5 years is still fairly high. And if you can make it past that 5-year mark in the business, your odds of success go actually way up. So kudos to you for making it there. And if you're near there or thinking about giving up along the way, I just want to encourage you, keep on going. So without further ado, I'll let Jake share a little bit more about himself and his business and maybe background and what brings him here today.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Josh. I really appreciate it. You're dead on. Yeah, 5 years is, you feel the difference, as weird as that sounds. The calendar flipped over and I was like, all right, we did a thing. We're still in this. So it's humbling to have that faith and trust from so many people, but it's also great to have. As I said, I've been in real estate for 5 years. I live in Johnson Creek now. We used to live in Madison for a while. My wife, I have a 13-and-a-half-year-old son. We have not one, but 4 rescue dogs. We can't get them anymore because there's a rule at 5. You have to have a kennel license. So we're kept our 4th rescue for now. But yeah, so I being in real estate is great because we get to help people, right? So we're here to make the process easier for folks, whether it's buying or selling, or just answering questions. I think that's a big part that we as agents forget is sometimes it's not a transaction in that moment. You know this stuff every day. Client or friend of yours is like, hey, I have this question. Okay, what's the answer? And they call and you ask it. And like, great. Unlike many other professionals in a similar space, where it's an attorney or otherwise, there's no bill. We can just tell them, and they'll tell their friends that we were helpful. We go from there. I think come from that standpoint of always trying to help folks. They come back and find you in tenfold.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, certainly our role as consultants, advisors, right? That's our job really, is to help people and fulfill that information of sort of consulting and, you know, bouncing off ideas on things and being a resource and being helpful. You know, I dealt with this recently. I actually had a home inspection on a property that it was, you know, a little bit older of a property, built in the 50s. And from at first glance, it looks like everything's all good. And, you know, then the home inspector comes in and finds a whole bunch of things wrong with it. And then the homeowner's like, well, I've been living here for 30 years and things seem fine. But, you know, some things you get used to, or maybe you don't always notice or whatever. And part of it is, you know, bringing in those good inspectors or advisors or whatever, just to take another look at something and just make sure that it's going to be safe and adequate and appropriate for your needs, you know? So it's interesting how, you know, even the people we recommend, right? And we want to make sure that we vet those people. You know, I've also had, you know, inspectors sometimes, I hate to pick on them too much because they definitely play an important critical role in our process, right? You know, you want the good inspector that's going to find, you know, the defects and the issues and the problems that you definitely want to address, but you also don't want to like over say something, in my opinion, right? Like if you get an entire report and the whole thing's defect, red ink, it's like, well, geez, it almost makes me not want to buy any house. It's like, holy cow, what's going on here? So, you know, all houses have something, but I think it's trying to find the balance of, you know, those good providers, good service providers, good inspectors, good lenders, and, you know, good local people that you can rely on and things like that. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear maybe some more of your thoughts on, you know, how do you go about choosing vendors or service providers that, maybe aren't, they're not other realtors, obviously, but you're working with these people to help provide services for your clients. How do you go about that, Jake?
Yeah, I think you make a great point there, Josh, is that local expertise is super important. Clients can, work with anyone they want, whether it's a realtor, insurance agent, lender, inspector, but we do this every day. And so when we refer someone or say, hey, these are the top three, there's a reason. Whether we've worked with that person before, we think they'd be a good fit with our client, or they have creative solutions that can work for them. That's why we refer them. A lot of times, also, that having someone local is a deal changer. If it's a local lender that knows the listing agent on the other side, if you're on the buy side, that can be the difference in getting an offer accepted or not. And, from a lending and insurance standpoint, if something goes wrong, which knock on wood, it doesn't, but it's real estate, right? There are ups and downs and things along the way. Having a physical person that is not only in your market, but have to go and talk to someone in person that you can't understand how important that is to the entire process. It is the biggest purchase of your life, more than likely. Right? So you meet your agents, you see us in person, you meet us, you trust us. Lender and insurance agents, you can meet them too. Having someone local in your market really is the difference between a successful transaction and what can be a very bumpy ride simply due to just not understanding the local market.
So I'm curious if you can we maybe go a little deeper on that. Like,
Yeah.
is there an experience or an example that comes to mind of maybe when it didn't work out as good, or maybe when it did work out really good? And how did that play out? Like, how did that really go? Because I mean, if I'm just a consumer and I want to buy or sell a home, right? I mean, I need to get insurance. My bank says I have to get insurance.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to, I mean, I have my car insurance through Progressive. I guess I'll just go to Progressive, right? Like,
Yep.
I mean, for me, that's kind of one option, right? Who's your go to insurance person already? Maybe that's a good person to start with. And then
Yeah.
from there, maybe get a second or third opinion to see and compare and go from there. That's kind of my approach anyway. But I'm curious to hear kind of what's your approach on that and how do you recommend that?
Yeah, I think insurance is a great example. Not all insurance agents or companies are created equally, just like not all realtors are, right? Like I always tell my clients, I am not the best fit for everyone because if I was everyone's agent, I would have no life, and we don't want that. But also, like my approach may not work for you as a client, but insurance is a great example. When you talk to your insurance agent, it's always important to have those conversations of what's going on in your life? What else do you have besides the house? Is it a car? Is it this? How do what's your income look like? How do you handle risks? Are you okay with more risks? And depending on where you go with your insurance, that can all change. Being able to sit down with someone and talk through all of that can be a game changer. And there's different options, right? You can go with an agent who just offers the one service, whether it's American Family or State Farm or someone like that. Where I've seen a lot of success for my clients is talking to a brokered agent. So some insurance provider who has some different providers out in the workspace, they're able to usually get the best coverage at roughly the same or lower price, because they're able to see a national strategy that helps support you. So it's the idea, right? You find a
So they
national
broker
minded
several
person.
different companies. Is that what you're saying? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like I have a different carrier for my homeowners insurance. It's different than my car insurance, and my life insurance is different. And the reason is because we get the best coverage at different prices by packaging them all together. And at the end of the day, you still have full coverage. And I think the benefit of it is because I have all those different people, I will rely on my insurance agent more for answers to questions. So they're
Hmm.
going to work a little harder, but also I know if I have a question, I go right to them and they get me the answer. If they can't, they interface with the provider as opposed to call the 1-800 number and wait it on hold. I'm not a huge fan of that. So I call my insurance agent and they get on hold or they talk to the person. So it's there to mitigate that stress and take things off your plate.
Yeah, for sure. Having that go-to person definitely
Yeah.
helps make a difference. I mean, yeah, I think I have a couple different insurance agents I go to depending on what I need, but I kind of like to have at least two like ready to go. Like, hey, you're my go-to and you're my go-to also. Like to me, having a couple of them is good, and I think having, certainly it's nice to just have one, but I think you bring up a good point, right? Top three for a reason, right? You
Yep.
got to have at least two or three of these recommended people ready to go, whether it's mortgage, whether it's insurance, title, or whatever. So I think
Hmm.
that's important too. So track record and experience matters. So
Yeah.
let's shift gears a little bit. So you've made it to the magical 5-year mark, right? So if if I was, say, maybe a year or two into this business and I'm starting to think that, okay, maybe I can do this. Yeah, it's hard. It's not maybe going as fast as I wanted it to, but I'm starting to get some steam. What is it for you that you think would was really a catalyst for your growth, and whatever numbers you're willing to share or open to
Yeah.
sharing in terms of where you were and where you're at now, and kind of what do you think were some of those catalyst points that really catapulted you to that next level? So, and I can go first if you prefer, and kind of give you some time to think about it. But
No, I got some ideas. Yeah, that's a great question. I think that you bring up a good point. Is that in real estate we all share what made us successful, and I think it's an idea, right, that there's a lot of fish in the sea, and we're all in the sandbox together. So we share best practices, what works, what doesn't work. Because if I made the failure, who wants to go do those troubles? I did it for you. Do the good things. I started during COVID in real estate, and so the crazy low interest rates, super high competition, all that stuff. The first year was insane, just because that's just how it was, right? It was under 3% rates, and everyone was out there looking, and it's COVID and all kinds of weird stuff. But I think after those first 2 years, think about what are the things I like to do on a daily basis. Do I like to pick up the phone and call people? Do I like to send text messages? Do I like to send video? Do I like to cold call because I'm a crazy person and I love being yelled at? I don't know, whatever works for you. And then figure out what that is and do it a lot every day. And if you do the same tactic every day, you're going to get really good at it and really comfortable with it. And then you're going to be able to say, hey, this is how I grow my business.
and
And I
what was
also
that for
say,
you? What was the one thing you
yeah,
did every day?
for
What was
me,
that?
the biggest thing is I just leaned into video, doing stuff like this. Video is important. I think people like to see your face, as weird as that sounds, and they respond to video that's personalized better
I
than
like to
text,
think so,
email,
but I don't
anything.
know. Maybe they don't. No.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm like, I think I look great. My wife says I'm handsome, or at least sometimes
Yeah.
she does. But like, I'm just like, and I do it. It's simple, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be beautifully curated with sound and just yourself. Put yourself out there and genuinely try to connect with people. And I think it opens up all kinds of doors for you and lets people know who you are, whether they use you as a client, whether they come to you for questions, or whether you're just coaching their kids in sports. They're like, oh yeah, Jake's that guy. He's a real person and he's there to help. That's the biggest
Yeah,
thing.
totally. Yeah, no, that's a good one. I mean, I think video has gotten easier and easier over the years,
Yeah.
right? Everybody's got a smartphone and a video recorder in their pocket, and
Hmm.
so there's really no excuse to not be doing video, honestly. Like, I mean, it's that easy for anybody. And really, if you're not doing much with video, you're really missing an opportunity, I think, because there is something that's special about just putting your real authentic self out there, and just the people that are going to be, they want to know you anyway. They want to know what
Hmm.
it's like to work with you. They want to know all those things. So don't be afraid. Just hit the post, hit the record button and put it
Hmm.
out there. And yeah, you'd be surprised at what comes around. Yeah. And I love even sharing too. Like sometimes I'll go on showings. Like if I see something interesting on a showing, I kind of love just doing a short 10-second video clip of that and post that on my
Hmm.
social media. And it's amazing
Yep.
just the engagement you get. And it's like, people are stuck at work and they're not able to go out and look at all these interesting houses.
Right.
And like, and you are like,
Yep.
what a cool thing. So share that
Hmm.
with them, or share some of the struggles and things like that, or some of the challenges, right? It's not always every day is rosy. Like sometimes there's
Hmm.
challenges and bumps in the road, and that's okay.
Yep.
Like that's a part of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I love that. I do love the other aspect you touched on, which I think and totally agree with is important, is just being super consistent every day. And I guess I would encourage you too to just maybe go a little bit step further, right? Like,
Hmm.
okay, shoot a video, big time, do that, but also picking up the phone every day, and it's a combination of phone and text and email and all this stuff.
Hmm.
Like it's not all just one thing. Like
Yep.
if all I use is my phone only, like some people aren't always going to answer, right? Like I
Hmm.
don't mind cold calling like at the end of the day, but if they're not answering, like maybe try a different tactic, right? Like could try a text or an email or a social media message or something, right? You could try something different to help engage those people in different ways. But at the end of the day, it is about that consistency and just really being consistent on having those number of reach outs to connect with more people. So I
Yeah.
totally get that for sure. Nice. Okay. Well, cool. Well, we've touched on a few good things. Anything else that's coming up for you that you think our listeners might be interested in hearing more about, right? If we're talking about growth and what it's going to take to grow your business to the next level. I mean, anything else that you think you've done or that really works well for you?
Yeah, I think it's looking for growth, right? And so one of the things that I've done on a daily basis is trying to get face to face with people. So in person, talking to people, sharing coffee or whatever it is, it's a good way to grow because you find out what they're going through and you find out what they're doing in their business or personal life and how it connects to what you're doing. In addition, about 2 years ago, I started a mastermind group that meets once a week, and we all get together and talk about something that's business related. But it's not all people in the same industry. So we have people from all different industries in the room. We've got a guy who owns a Stanley Steamer company and a couple different nonprofits and banks and artists and everyone kind of in between, but everyone's dealing with the same stuff. And so how we deal with something and how we kind of frame around that approach, you can all learn from each other. And you inherently grow because you're like, oh, A, like you said, I'm not going through this alone. And B, that's a good way to get through it. And I think it's helped me kind of process those highs and lows better, but also be willing to ask people like, hey, I'm struggling with this. How do you think we could get through it? And they're like, oh, well, this isn't that hard. I've been down this path before. Let me show you. There's some humility required because you've got to recognize you don't know everything. But once you do that and you're willing to take their ideas, it gets a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, just getting involved in different groups, and it's something I've been doing for years. In fact, that was one of the things I did early on when I didn't have much money, but I had a lot of time. So I feel like in this business, you either have a lot of time and very little money, or you have a lot of money and maybe not much time. So if
Yeah.
you have a lot of money and not much time, you can spend more money on marketing and advertising. If you have a lot of time and not much money, then you got to put the time in and do the things to connect with people. And connecting with people for me, getting started was, yeah, exactly what you did, right? It's going to different networking events, going to chamber events, getting involved in your own BNI networking group or mastermind group or whatever it might be,
Mhm.
so that you can get in front of people and have conversations. Because at the end of the day, this is still a very much a people business, even though AI is changing every business in the world, right? At the end of the day, it's still belly to belly, face to face, and you're talking to people, and people still appreciate having a recommendation and a referral from a trusted friend
Mhm.
for their realtor. I mean, I was just reading through the latest profile of buyers and sellers that the NAR puts out every year, and that's still like the number one source is a recommendation from a friend or family member, right? Like people want to be recommended, they want a trusted source for their realtor, and that's good, right? Like that's a good thing. You want to be that recommended person, but you only get to become that recommended person if you're really putting yourself out there and engaging in those dialogues and connections and networks and things like that. So highly recommend doing that. Whether you've been in the business 1 year or 10 years or more, it doesn't even really
Mhm.
matter. To me, it's really about building those relationships, continuing to build the database and the network, and provide value, right? I mean, you talked about it before, right? How are we adding value to these people's lives, whether it's just helping with their kids or give them ideas or connect them with other vendors or service providers? At the end of the day, how can we add value to their lives? That's a big thing, big component of
Mhm.
it for sure. Well, very cool, man.
I think that you're going to see people buying and selling it. It's going to happen, right? So I think we're not going to see a massive rate drop because if we do, then something's gone terribly wrong in the country. We don't want that. Like that's part of why rates are so low during COVID, right? But I think what you'll see is more and more people getting educated about the process. I've had more buyers reach out
More getting educated on what did you say? I'm sorry.
on the process of how to buy, how to sell, and gaining that knowledge, whether they're buying now and selling now or waiting 6, 9, 12 months. I think that this is a year of education, of learning and deciding if you're ready to do it or not. And then if you're not, they wait. But I think a lot of clients are going to gain that knowledge this year. And if we can give them good solutions, that they'll go from thinking they can do it to actually doing it. Because if you don't know, it sounds really scary until you do it every day. And then we're like, well, there's a system and there's a process, and we'll help you through it. And we're not going anywhere. So let us help you however we can, whether it's today, 6 weeks, or 6 months. We're not going.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you just shared that, because that's been something I've been in the business over 20 years now. So, and I've been saying that same line actually for years. Like, hey, no problem. If this is the year for you, awesome. If it's not, I'll be here next year and the year after. I've been here 20 years. I'm not going anywhere. And at this point, I feel like I'm unemployable. So I don't know what else I would do. So, I mean,
I know that feeling. I would be a
yeah.
terrible employee. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point. So, and I think that's an interesting mindset too. And I think it's probably what brought you to the 5 year mark and brought me to the 20 year mark, right? It's like, hey, if I'm thinking, yeah, I'm just gonna try real estate, it might be for me, I'm not really sure. Good luck. But if you go in with the mindset like, hey, I'm gonna do this for the next 5 years, 10 years and beyond, gung ho, guns
Mhm.
ablazing, how much more successful are you going to be? I know as soon as I adopted that mindset, my business took off immediately. And so if you're hemming and hawing, like, do you even want to be in this business? just get on or off the fence. Like you can't be in the middle. Like you're going to get run over for sure. I also like, I kind of agree. I don't think interest rates are going to change too much. I mean, they've come down a little bit. We've seen that, around 6% or just below. And maybe they come down in the fives, mid fives. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see 3% anytime soon. Honestly, I hope we don't, in fact, because if that does happen, I think we got inflation problems again. I think we got massive appreciation still happening. And then we're going to have a major down correction, I think. So I'd rather see prices stay flat for a few years. That's fine. Like, let's just do that. And really, that's okay too, because personally, I've bought homes and all times of the year. I bought my first house in 2008. Market crashed. I bought a foreclosure. Okay. The market crashed and I bought a house. Okay. 2 years ago, I bought a house. I'm at 6.5% interest. Okay. I owned a house for a long time and I was at 3%, 3.25% interest. Okay. So to me, any time is the right time if it's the right time for you and if the right property is for you. So if you're waiting for the market or waiting for things to get better, don't wait. Like just find what's a good opportunity in any market, because if you're planning to be in the same property or in the same area for at least 2-3 years or more, like it definitely makes sense to become an owner and become a homeowner. Even if you have to pay some transaction fees and sell within 3 to 5 years, like you're still ahead compared to renting. So it's definitely a good option. Anytime could be the right time. There's always opportunities out there in any market. That's kind of the one thing I've noticed. So, well, very cool, man. Jake, we touched on quite a few things, man. We've getting started during COVID. That was a crazy time. Holy cow. I don't know how you did it. Honestly, that was probably some of my hardest years in this business. Like writing offers when there's 20 offers on a property. How do you win? It takes every ounce of effort you got to just make things happen. But yeah, I think if you keep going and you can have that mindset, I'm in this long term, and you'll be successful. And getting involved in different networking groups, having your go-to kind of top 3 for mortgage, insurance, title, those kind of vendors and other things. And really just getting face-to-face and networking and connecting with people, adding value. I think you brought up some great points. And I know all of those things are things that I've would agree with and have helped make me successful in doing 50 to 80 transactions a year. And whether you're at that level or just looking to get to that level, there's certainly one of those things, all those things are going to be helpful in your journey of growth. So anything else that comes to mind for you in terms of what you want to share before we sign off for our listeners in terms of final thoughts or anything like that?
I think the best thing you can always think about is that because we're in real estate, we have the opportunity to impact people positively, not just in the transactions, but through philanthropy. So find something you care about and then make that another motivator to keep you in the industry. It keeps you focused on something besides the dollars and cents. And when the days get tough, you're like, well, I'm doing this because I also want to be able to support this nonprofit, this activity, this organization. It's just another motivator beyond money that helps you wake up every day and do those consistent things that you know will work.
Yeah. Gosh, I love that. I love you brought that up too. It's, I know some people are huge givers and some people maybe don't give as much, but I think at the end of the day, if you can find some kind of purpose or something else to give to philanthropy or anything, I do think it's a motivator. And it's something, well, we believe too in our team, and we give a donation after every closing on behalf of our client, whatever charity or nonprofit they want to choose. We let them choose it. Some people I know agents run their business and like always give to one specific charity or nonprofit. You can do that too, or whatever, set up your own even. I mean, there's lots of different options out there, but I think as humans in this world, I think we do have some kind of obligation to say, hey, there's more going on in the world. And you look up at the stars late at night, and that's what makes me believe there's got to be a God. And so I think it's our obligation to give back and make this world a better place. So I love that you brought that up, Jake. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's our episode, I think, for today, unless you had anything else, Jake.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for taking time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for listening to our show and our episode today on the Better Agent Podcast. Again, here with Jake Johnson, and I'm your host, Josh Lavik. And if you want to talk more or hear more about growth in your real estate business and becoming a better version of yourself, then tune in to our next episode and our future guests. So Again, that's today's show for the Better Agent Podcast. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to the Better Agent Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, Q&A sessions, and sneak peeks into our 21-day challenge. To get full access of our show notes and more details on the 21-day challenge, go to abetterrealestateexperience.com. Keep striving for greatness, and I'll see you on the next episode.